please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
On Overdrive today, we kickstart the show on a racetrack with two dynamite superbikes. We also catch up with our viewer queries on Auto Selector and the latest from the automotive world. Hi, welcome to Overdrive and a very happy new year to all of our followers as well as our viewers. Now, over a decade, we have been striving to bring you some of the most exciting news in the world of auto in our country as well as from the world. And as the year progresses, we only plan to excel on that and bring you some of the most adventurous shows that we can. Now, to kickstart the new year, we are on a racetrack. That's simply because the team plans to clock in as much track time as they can, and there is a liter class superbike that has caught Abhay's fancy. Take a look.
When BMW Motorrad first launched the S1000RR a few years ago, it completely shook up the competition, including European manufacturers like Ducati and the Japanese Big Four. The bike was quick to gain accolades across the world as the fiercest, most lethal, but yet extremely friendly liter class superbike to ride. And now, we have the second generation S1000RR that is out and has been launched in India as well. And we are riding it today at a very special location, which is the Madras Motor Racetrack. Since its launch a few years ago, the S1000RR has become a name that commands serious respect in superbiking circles with its mind-blowing performance and dynamics, and of course, that unconventional design. The S1000RR was criticized by many for its quirky design, and the second generation motorcycle is not any different, as its design is an evolution of the originals. The end result, though, is a motorcycle that is one of the most aerodynamic ones in its class. The S1000RR continues with the asymmetrical design, starting from the quirkily styled headlights. Both sides of the fairing are different from each other, just like before, but the design now feels more like a part of the bike's character. That said, I was beginning to appreciate the styling as my day with the bike wore on, as the new S1000RR looks a lot sharper and more compact than its predecessor. BMW Motorrad continues with the inline 4-cylinder format for its engine, which is the most popular format in this segment, and of course goes without saying, inline 4-cylinder engines are easily the best sounding engines as far as motorcycles are concerned. In fact, this motorcycle sounds so good at high revs, I don't think there's any need for somebody to go in for an aftermarket exhaust. And that's besides the fact that now the S1000RR is a proud member of the 200 PS motorcycle club, which makes it a super powerful liter class superbike. And with a curb weight of just 208 kilos, this Bavarian beast boasts a stunning power to weight ratio of 966 PS per ton. It is capable of accelerating to 100 km per hour in just about 3 seconds. And with its kind of staggering performance and refinement levels, I have no doubts in saying this is a gem of an engine. The 6-speed gearbox and its bi-directional quick shifter are equally good if not better, and gear changes are a breeze without the need to use the clutch lever at all. Peak power is produced at a dizzying 13,500 RPM, but this time BMW Motorrad has also focused on mid-range performance. Performance is relentless, and even on a racetrack like the Madras Motor Racetrack, it was not easy to put all 201 PS down. And that's where the electronics come into play. There's ridiculous levels of rider aids on offer, and stuff like launch control feels ordinary here. Riding modes help you tailor engine performance and handling to suit your individual style, and dynamic traction control particularly deserves a mention, as it lets you forget you're riding a 200 PS rocket every time you crack the throttle open. One of my personal favorites here though is the lean angle sensor that tells you your highest angle of lean around corners. How cool is that? With the S1000RR, BMW has proved yet again that offering the best electronics package to manage the engine performance optimally is far more important than offering the highest power output. So whether you're a seasoned professional or someone riding a superbike for the first time, the S1000RR will amaze you with its cleverly monitored performance and also stun you with how fast you can ride it around a racetrack. Another example of BMW Motorrad's engineering brilliance is the active damping suspension. The suspension is electronically controlled, which means depending on the riding mode chosen by the rider and the surface that you are riding on, the damping gets adjusted and it offers a perfect balance between ride and handling. The electronic dampers are one of the biggest contributors in making the S1000RR the apex predator it is. Dynamic damping control studies information from various sensors 100 times every second to offer the best setup, and the result is a handling package that's really hard to beat. The chassis works hand in glove with the suspension to make the S1000RR the handler that it is. When flicking from side to side, the bike felt almost as light and as nimble as a 600cc sports bike. As compared to the older version, the new S1000RR uses a sharper steering geometry and a longer wheelbase to offer better stability around corners, along with more feel and feedback from the front end. Then there's the brakes. The S1000RR comes equipped with top-of-the-line brake systems from Brembo, and slowing down for corners was a breeze. On the whole, the combination of the electronics and the chassis and suspension make sure the bike goes exactly where you want it to. It's almost as if the motorcycle can read your mind, and with the new S1000RR, BMW has proved yet again that it makes some of the most engaging automobiles on the planet. With the first generation S1000RR, BMW Motorrad had clearly set the proverbial cat among the pigeons in the liter class superbike segment. And with the second generation motorcycle, it is only carrying that legacy forward. The performance is explosive, the technology is so good that anybody could just jump onto it, start riding fast and feel good about it. It literally makes you feel like a hero. That's how good this motorcycle is. It does most of the hard work for you, lets you enjoy your time in the saddle and feel great about it. Of course, getting your knee down or posting lap times is extremely easy, and I think anybody with even little bit of experience of riding on track is going to have a lot of fun on this motorcycle.
We've got two of the newest motorcycles in the liter class sports bike segment. There's Shumi and two riders who are faster than him. Need I say any more? Welcome to Overdrive.
The liter class sport bike market in India has two new entrants. One is brand new. The other one's not so new, but it's new to the market and it's considered the best motorcycle you can buy in the class. Today, we're at Chennai and we're going to find out how these two motorcycles square off against each other. But because we have the two top liter class motorcycles in the world right now, we decided to get two liter class people to test it. And those would be Anand Dharmaraj, founder Indy Motard and lead instructor at the TWO track school that Indy Motard and Overdrive run. And Siddharth Sid Trivalor, who heads Vidium and is the man behind California Superbike School, India. Both are extremely fast, extremely skilled riders who also happen to be part of the CNBC TV18 Overdrive Awards jury. These two mad fast riders and I took to the MMRT in Chennai. Anand went first on the BMW S1000 RR.
The BMW S1000 that's here today, it has a big fan following everywhere, and obviously it's got a lot of wins in the circuits internationally, and it is a whole lot different from what you see in terms of other motorcycles because of the kind of electronics that it has on it, which is quite extensive. So for a layman, it's probably not exactly a motorcycle that you can play with electronics to say, oh, you know what, this is what I want, this is what I don't want, because it really requires somebody who's knowledgeable enough to sort of even tweak those electronics. But having said that, just out of the box, it's a beast. It's got a lot of stuff, it's got a lot of power, it's just, you know, it's so quick on the revs. I just climb so quickly. So you can get yourself in a lot of trouble. But again, as I said, it's, you know, when you ride it on a track like this and an above average rider looks at it, it's a beautiful motorcycle that's put together right out of the box.
And Sid didn't disagree a lot either.
So first impressions on the BMW S1000 RR, the bike as such is a very, very thrilling motorcycle to ride. I would definitely caution beginners when they first jump on this motorcycle, because I think it's really geared towards a more professional rider. It's not very friendly in terms of, you know, the power delivery is very, very aggressive. When you go into the corners, it tends to, you know, the back tends to come out. When you come out of the corners, the front wheel tends to lift. So, you know, you tend to have to work very hard on this motorcycle. You know, but having said that, if you can get to terms with how to ride this motorcycle, it can be extremely fast, probably quicker than most other liter bikes in this class.
The BMW RR, as the Germans like to refer to it, definitely comes on a bit strong. It feels bigger as well as more potent than the Suzuki, and it's a thrill ride. It's easy to ride initially and then it sort of frightens you a little when you start you're ready to play with it. Oh boy, it's like an Alsatian pup who suddenly bares its teeth at you. The Suzuki couldn't be more different in this regard. When you park two motorcycles like this next to each other, some of the differences become obvious. For example, it's very clear that the BMW's handlebars are set lower, the Suzuki has a higher set of handlebars, and that should make it easier to ride in the city if you're riding a Suzuki. But what blows me away every single time for motorcycles like this today is how small they've become. Think about it like this. These two are some of the highest performance motorcycles money can buy today on the planet. All motorcycles in this class are at that stratospherically high level, but they are so small. There are motorcycles, Indian motorcycles, sports bikes with 300, 400cc engines that are as large as these or larger. And that always beggars belief. How can a motorcycle packing this much performance be so damn small? But as the saying goes, performance is only as good as your ability to use it, right? This becomes a little bit clearer when you hop on to the Suzuki.
The Suzuki GSXR 1000, personally I thought this was a wonderful motorcycle. I really enjoyed riding it. You know, straight out of the box, it doesn't take much getting used to. You take it out on the racetrack and you know, you feel like you kind of belong on this motorcycle. It's so easy, the handling is very confidence inspiring. The power delivery is smooth. It's you know, it feels more like a 600 than a 1000cc, although the power is strong and obviously much more than a 600. In the handling department, you know, the way it feels, you know, how light it feels, I really think, you know, it's a wonderful motorcycle overall. And this is a motorcycle that you could also use on the street because, you know, it's not as aggressive as the BMW. So, you know, the riding position as well is not as down low as you would expect from you know, a liter class sport bike. So I think, you know, it's a pretty usable motorcycle on the street as well. So overall, I think a great package from Suzuki, and I would definitely put my money down for one.
Now hold on a minute. How did that discussion go from the BMW is good but scary to I want to buy the Suzuki? Anand?
I've ridden it before here at Chennai, and the R version is just beautiful. Fantastic value for money, I think, for the kind of price point that it is. Everything that it has on the BMW, I think, comes on the Gixxer, except maybe a couple of things on the electronic stuff. But it's beautiful out of the box. It's so much more agile through the corners. It feels like it's slower, but it just accelerates so quickly. There's an element of the Gixxer 1000 that you just fall in love with. It's got a lot of soul. And that, I think, was very appealing to me with respect to the Suzuki.
It's true. I've maintained from my first ride at the Curry Speedway in Coimbatore that the Suzuki is special. It calms you down and lets you ride as fast as you can while you remain confident and happy, and that makes you faster. The BMW feels more like a specialized weapon. You start to wonder if you have the capability to use it. It makes you feel a little bit lacking even, and that would be hard for a relatively new rider, right?
So unlike the BMW S1000RR, I think, you know, the GSXR, if you're looking to buy a liter class bike for the first time, and if you're a novice, this bike is definitely the one for you. It's not nearly as aggressive as the BMW, not nearly as intimidating, and you know, you can kind of take your own time with it, and because it's so well planted and the handling is so well sorted out, it kind of makes you feel like you're a better rider than you actually are. So if you're a novice looking at buying a liter class bike, or if you're moving up from a smaller displacement bike to a liter class bike, this would definitely be a good place to start.
Okay, but what about the pro-level skilled and fast riders?
I think for pros, again, I take the BM and the Gixxer. I would say the pros would probably find the BM a lot more to their liking, just because it's just so much more brutal, whereas the Gixxer just feels a tad slower through the corners, I mean coming out of the corners. That's my only thing that I would say as a you know, if a pro is looking at it. A little bit of tuning on the suspension, as I would expect on any motorcycle, which you take a stock setting and you say, okay, I'm going to go faster. Probably the Gixxer is a little more easier to deal with and play with as opposed to the BM.
As you can see, the decision between the two motorcycles isn't one of price. They're not here because those test bikes are yet to arrive. The point is that this is such a frighteningly high level of performance that for riders of average to very high skill, it really doesn't matter which specification they buy into. It boils down to their ability to use it. Which is why Anand and Sid, both advanced riders, and I, much slower than them, all gravitated towards the Suzuki. It just felt easier to ride. The BMW was always impressively fast, but you always found yourself in awe of it rather than in sync with it. Maybe that's why on our short stint, the Suzuki lapped 4 seconds faster than the BMW at Chennai. And as Anand and Sid both pointed out, the gap should have been much smaller, maybe even in favor of the BMW, but the BMW needs more time for you to get used to so that you can extract that kind of performance.
As you start going faster is when the negatives kick in, and probably for somebody who's just buying this brand new, you need to get used to the kind of power delivery it has. It's definitely not twitchy. It's not twitchy at the low end, but at the high end, it starts getting, suspension starts playing a factor in this. Although it's got an adaptive electronic suspension on it, and the only negative that I found was that it starts to drift wide. When you get on the gas, the rear starts to sort of start to spin, and maybe it's something that needs to be tuned as you start going faster.
So perhaps Chennai is just a little too small for bikes this powerful to really come out and play. But even at a track like this, it's immediately obvious that the difference between the liter class motorcycles today is very, very small. What it boils down to is something that I have always said, that motorcycles are about how they make you feel, not about the spec sheet or price. And that's how this verdict goes as well. You've heard Anand's version of the story, you've heard Sid's version of the verdict, but my feeling is that if I had to choose between these two bikes, I'm in awe of the BMW. It is so good and so fast, but I keep feeling like the electronics work harder than I do. And therefore, I would pick the Suzuki because what it reminds me of is a really powerful 600cc motorcycle, something I can relate to more easily, something that gives me more confidence, something I can take and push as fast as I can go and learn 1,000 things from it.
Here on the show, where our OVERDRIVE editor Shumi joins us as always. He's all set to answer all of our viewer queries for this new year. Hi Shumi, our first question this week comes in from JY Kumar. He writes in saying that he wants to buy a new motorcycle and has shortlisted the KTM Duke 390 and the TVS Apache RR 310. His priorities are power and handling, and he also wants to know which motorcycle has instant pickup and can do triple digits in less time.
Oh, why couldn't you have waited one more month and asked me that question? Because we have tasted the 310 at the racetrack. We haven't ridden it outside the racetrack. The 390 we know is a very, very nice motorcycle. So if you were to have to buy it today, I am sorry, but I have to recommend the 390 to you. I don't have a choice. But if you were to give me a month, I think this is a very juicy part of the segment to be operating in. Both bikes have extremely good positives for both of them. So it'll be hard to play between the two bikes. To me, the 390 is a substantially more powerful machine. So if performance is your thing, the 310 does not match. But the 310 is so well made. It's such a nice looking motorcycle that you can't really dismiss it. So I would say if you can, just wait 1 month more. Give OVERDRIVE a little bit of time. We'll come back to you with a more accurate answer. If you can't wait, 390.
Shumi, our next question this week comes in from Gaurav Thorat. He writes in saying that he wants to buy a car which is under 10 lakh rupees. His priorities are good performance and safety features. What would you suggest, Shumi?
Gaurav, 10 lakh rupees is a very interesting budget to have because you're right at the top of the segment in which the Dzire and the Accent play. You're right below the place where the cars like the Verna play. And I'm going to say that if that's how it's going to operate, you should be looking at the Dzire. It came out new last year. It completely reset the benchmarks of what's possible in that class. That's the car to buy. If for whatever reason you have a thing with Maruti, go get the Accent. It's a very, very nice car. If you want something with involvement though, something that you really enjoy driving and the boot isn't important to you, the Baleno is the car that you'd like to buy. But overall, as a package, Dzire.
Well, if you have any more queries, you can send them to us at helpdesk@overdrive.co.in. That is our email address. You can also send them to us via Facebook or Twitter, and we will get Shumi to answer them for you on the show. Right now, though, it's time for us to check out the latest headlines from the world of auto. Land Rover has launched the Range Rover Autobiography by SVO Bespoke in India, a highly customizable variant of the company's flagship SUV. Built by Land Rover's Special Vehicle Operations Bespoke Division, hence the name, this Range Rover Autobiography is available in India in limited numbers.
This SUV is available with a choice of two engines, the 4.4-litre SD V8 diesel and the 5-litre V8 supercharged petrol. Only 5 units are available and bookings are open at all 26 dealerships across the country.
Our goal every week is to keep you entertained as well as abreast of everything that is happening in the automotive world. So don't forget to tune in next week, same time, same channel, and also follow us on our various digital platforms. You can see the latest videos, photographs, articles, and also don't forget to pick up the latest issue of the OVERDRIVE magazine. It's got a new face that has got everybody talking. Until we see you next week, drive and ride safe.